Today we'll be telling the story of St.Edith Stein, whose feast is celebrated on August 9th. Edith was born on October 12, 1891 in Breslau, which back then was part of the German Empire, but today is part of Poland. She was the youngest of 7 children. Sadly, when Edith was only 4 years old, her father died. Her mother, a devout Jewish woman, took over the family business and worked hard to provide for her children. Edith's mother was a great example to Edith and inspired her future belief that women can fulfill any profession God calls them to. Her mother ensured her children had access to a good education, and as a result, Edith found her love of learning and after years of study and hard work, earned a doctorate degree in philosophy. Edith had abandoned the faith of her family, Judaism, and become an atheist as a young teenager. However, she never stopped searching for the truth. Many things influenced her, including her friends and her studies. Eventually, Edith decided that she had found the truth in Catholicism and decided to be baptized. While she wanted to join the Carmelite order, she was advised to delay entry because her great mind could be used to teach and lecture outside of the convent first, and because her elderly mother still needed her. During this time, the Nazis were gaining power in Germany, and the persecution of the Jewish people was increasing. Edith decided it was time for her to fulfill her dream of joining the Carmelites. When she joined the order, Edith took the name Teresa Benedicta of the Cross, after Saint Teresa of Avila. Edith worked in the convent teaching the other sisters and writing. Then, in 1942, the arrest of all Jewish converts was ordered, and Edith was taken to the Auschwitz concentration camp where she was murdered by the Nazis. St. Edith Stein is the patron saint of Europe, Jewish converts, martyrs, and the loss of parents. Now it's time for our story. Edith and her friend talked and laughed as they walked through the busy streets of Frankfurt. It was a beautiful city, and the two friends admired the architecture as they strolled together. They soon found themselves in the older part of the city where the cathedral stood. It was a glorious building reaching high to the sky. Edith's friend tugged at her sleeve. "Let's go inside, Edith. The cathedral is open and we can see all the details of the architecture better from the inside." Edith agreed, always willing and excited to learn something new. Neither of the two women were Catholic. Edith had been raised Jewish, but no longer practiced. They entered simply as tourists, ready to admire the beautiful architecture. They climbed the marble steps and pushed open the large cathedral doors. It took a moment for their eyes to adjust to the candlelight as they had just come in from the bright sun. The smell of beeswax candles burning filled Edith's nostrils, and a sense of peace filled the space. The cathedral was absolutely gorgeous. Her friend pointed out different architectural features quietly, and Edith nodded in acknowledgement. But it wasn't the beauty of the cathedral that caught Edith's eye. Near the front of the church knelt a woman, her baskets from shopping at the nearby marketplace sticking out the end of the pew. The woman was completely lost in prayer, all by herself in the huge cathedral. Edith was taken aback. She had never seen anything like this before at the Jewish synagogues or Protestant churches she had visited. This woman looked like she was there praying to someone. She wasn't just there for the service. She looked like she was visiting someone. The woman from the market stuck in Edith's mind. Edith had spent years studying philosophy and phenomenology at university. She had a doctorate degree, in fact. She had given up the idea of God when she was 14, but her years and years of study had slowly started to open her mind back up to the reality of God. She had wrestled with the truth of God for a long time, and seeing this woman praying alone in church really touched her heart. It was as if her heart and her mind were beginning to come together. Not long after, Edith's friend Miss Reinach lost her husband to the war. Mr. and Mrs. Reinach were Christians, and Edith had known them from school. These were people that Edith deeply respected for their intellect and character. Although it was difficult, Edith went to visit her friend to offer her condolences at the loss of her husband. She wasn't sure what to expect. Edith was sure the visit would be extremely painful. What would she say to comfort the young widow? But to Edith's shock, Mrs. Reinach was not broken by the death of her young husband. Her faith was keeping her afloat. "I will see him again," Mrs. Reinach told Edith. Christ has defeated death and we will be reunited again. The bravery and witness of her friend in the face of such tragedy again deeply impacted Edith, and it was at that moment that Edith began to feel called by Christ. But Edith's conversion to Catholicism wasn't complete. Some saints, like St. Paul, have a big moment where everything clicks and their life changes all at once. But it wasn't that way for St. Edith Stein. She wrestled with the question of faith for a long time and continued on the path of her life as she tried to figure out what to do. It wasn't until the summer of 1921 that Edith decided to become a Catholic. It was the middle of summer. She was staying at her friend's house when she happened to pick up the autobiography of another great saint, St. Teresa of Avila. The book was small and unassuming, but Edith was alone in the house for the night and was looking for something to entertain her. She sat down in the living room with the book and couldn't put it down. She stayed up the whole night reading, and when she finished, she put it down and simply said, "This is the truth." Edith never told anyone what was in that particular book that finalized her conversion. It was between her and God alone. The next day, Edith went to town and bought a catechism and began studying to enter the Catholic Church. She was baptized less than 6 months later on January 1st, 1922, at age 31. The story of St. Edith Stein reminds us that our relationship with God is a journey. Sometimes it's a short path, and sometimes it's a long and winding road. But regardless of our path to faith, God is there walking that path with us. St. Edith Stein, pray for us.